All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight, episode 20. I think we're at 28. My name is Aaron.
My name is Vicki.
And y'all know me. My name is Chris.
You sound like a weekend or late night radio program. And this is Chris here on
We got the
on
suaveness.
the Oasis 89.3.
Oh,
Actually, there is
That's
that
pretty good.
that is actually a channel in Denver. It's 89.3 KUVO, the Oasis, and this is 89.3 KUVO, the Oasis in the city. And so they have these DJs who are
shaking my head. It's not for me.
It's a jazz kind of channel where they have classical music. It's also I think NPR runs on it as well. Anyway, you sounded like a late night radio DJ here.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
These people get on my nerves. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of it. I just feel like there's just these snooty rich people who are just like.
This is the Nerds by Screenlight radio station, coming to you from Fort Morgan, Colorado, here on the plains.
Please
This
stop.
is your nerd station.
Quit.
Anyway, now
right.
that we've got that out of the way, so we're eating food here. We're getting our dinner. It's the 6:45 hour here on as we're recording, and we're not sponsored by them, so we can't unless I might tweet at them and be like, hey, can we get a mild sponsorship deal?
Can't hurt.
We've been nothing ventured, nothing gained. We've been using HelloFresh for the better part of I don't know the last year.
Or more. I feel like it's been about 2 years.
Yeah, and we've tried them. We tried Home Chef, and we found more success with HelloFresh because we have multiple people in our home, and when you order it, you can order it for 2 or 4 people. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about HelloFresh is that it all comes in one bag. Like your meals
Yes.
come in one bag. With a competitor, they just sent another bag. They didn't put them together. They were just all. It was.
And you have to do math.
It was frustrating. So with HelloFresh, you order for 4 meals. They all come in one bag in the box, and you can basically know, okay, I just need to pull this out for the meal. Aside from some early hiccups with delivery, HelloFresh has been just legit. And the food, the flavors and the food, we've never had a disappointing meal through HelloFresh. It's just been really great. And Chris is enjoying his HelloFresh meal this evening. It's
Okay, the squirt bottle needs to stay in range, sir.
yeah,
I'm moving that.
he's going to become a target. If it wasn't for all the electronic equipment, Chris would be sprayed right now by the You're not Batman, and you're also not a late night radio host.
No, I'm not.
You either, Aaron.
I mean, we could be. We could actually start like a low broadcast radio station or something on
cool.
YouTube or something like that.
Internet, please join me in protesting this idea.
Yeah. Okay. We wouldn't. I don't know if we'd have any listeners, to be honest. It'd be kind of interesting. We'll have to check that idea out because we can do like a late night like a YouTube, because we do the Monks thing on our separate thing.
Yep.
We could do a YouTube live after that or something like that where we just kind of hang out and find copyright free music or licensed music that we have or something like that. That'd be kind of fun. So our question was supposed to be that we got distracted from is, what is your favorite kind of bread?
You have 2 Southerners in the room. This is a
Garlic.
hard question.
Garlic
Ooh.
bread.
Garlic without question.
Yeah.
It's kind of a vice for me, too. Basically, if it has butter on it, it's probably going to be delicious.
Yes. Butter
Yeah.
and salt. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's be real. I mean, I'm with you on the garlic bread, but biscuits and gravy,
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yummy.
Yeah, but biscuits and gravy is this thing. I have. There was a cafe that I used to go to back in the day, and the choices of bread were limited to sourdough. There was no other options. You could only get your sandwiches on sourdough. Sourdough bread as a sandwich bread is legit.
Yes.
It is really a good bread for sandwiches. It's the flavor and the combination. You can put anything on there, and it'll work out well. And at some point they started offering wheat bread, and I was just like, no, that doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste like the sandwich should, because the flavor is somehow you've messed with the flavor profile. And so that's something about bread that's important for me. Is your flavor profile, that does matter to me in that regard.
Going to Central Asia was kind of hard when it came to bread because it was a lot of you could do white or you could do this really dark. I found out later it was called rye bread.
Yep.
Everything was in Russian, so I'm like,
Rye's
what
good.
is this? I'd say I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
not
rye's
for me.
tough. It's tough.
The flavor and just I was
dense.
What is this?
Yeah.
Thought I liked bread.
The spawn of Satan, apparently.
No me gusta. I
Yeah.
don't like it.
No, do
I
not
was trying
want.
to say it in Russian and Spanish popped into my head.
It's okay. I'm sure there's somebody out there will translate it for themselves. Actually, that reminds me of the VeggieTales. What is that song? Is it "Love My Lips" by it's
I love my lips.
and he like is stuck in a hospital room with a guy and he's like no me gusta and like oh my gosh. Okay, if you're wondering what's going on right now, I'm flashing back to a childhood
And I'm
memory.
lost. All I know is where is my hairbrush
Yeah.
and
I Love My Lips is the
that one,
VeggieTales
too.
song. And he talks about getting stuck in a hospital room with a guy who could only speak something or whatever, and he learned words, and usta or something or I don't even know what it was. Anyway, go pause this podcast, open up a new tab, and do a search for "I Love My Lips" by VeggieTales, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Hopefully. And that's all we have for our intro. That's all we got. But when we come back, we're gonna talk about Arsenic and Old Lace. We'll probably deep dive into it more next week as well with our other co-hosts Zoe and Phil.
Yeah.
Because Zoe is out. She had some dental surgery, so she's still recovering,
Yep.
which is understandable. So we will wish her all the good vibes and the good things to get her back up and running and back with us again next week. But we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about Arsenic and Old Lace. But we're going to do kind of a dive into some old school movies. The black and white movies primarily is where we're gonna go into, and we have some interesting entries. And as we continue to talk, I think we'll probably find some more. So, strap in, grab a cup of tea, put your feet up. Turn on your late night KUVO.
or
Yes.
don't.
Smooth jazz.
Get your hip hop, everybody.
Smooth jazz here on Nerds by Screenlight. Coming up next, the black and
Can I
white
have that
movie
spray bottle so I can spray it
extravaganza.
hate this so much.
We'll be right back. Hopefully, there may be a street fight that breaks out here on the podcast. It's gonna be great. All right, we'll be back in a second.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I can sell.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
My name's Vicky.
My name's Chris.
Oh, God, where's the water bottle?
hit
There's
it.
an electronic.
I hit it over
So
there.
I'll find a way.
he put it out of. Well, here's the thing: if we squirt him, it's gonna hit all our equipment. So there's electronics.
Careful.
I will.
See?
She sprayed him.
I didn't even feel it.
Apparently, we need to put some pepper spray in there.
Whoa, whoa.
That might
Let's not send him to the hospital.
well, you know,
Batman wasn't like that.
Batman would use pepper spray. He's a non-violent vigilante.
He probably
He would use the bat spray or something like that. Bat. I don't know. So we are back to talk about movies, classic movies. This came off of watching Arsenic and Old Lace. And Chris, unfortunately, you need to watch it this week. Go on Amazon.
I will.
Do a rental. It's totally worth it.
Totally worth your time.
It's Cary Grant, and so this movie has been out for like 55 million years. So there's spoiler alerts aren't going to happen.
Came out during World War II.
Actually, it came out in 44. So here's the story about this movie. So December 7th, 1941, obviously terrible things happened. The day which will live in infamy. This movie, I think, started filming after that, or like was filming. Yeah, so this movie was filming in the middle of that, and then the Pearl Harbor attacks happened, and they had to basically get Frank Capra signed up to be to be deployed. Like he got it. He put his name in the list, and he was drafted. And so there was very little time to be able to get this movie finalized and polished. And so a lot of what you see on screen with Cary Grant's kind of frantic mannerisms, there was talk about, oh, hey, we're going to go back and reshoot some of those. We'll tone down Cary Grant's...
They accused him of overacting.
Yeah.
And Cary Grant agreed.
Yeah, he was
They're
like,
we'll
yeah.
fix it. We'll fix it.
Yeah, he
It's
was like,
okay.
yeah, it was too much. And they were like, we'll fix it. And then Frank Capra got called up, and
Yeah.
they had to do what they had to do. I would argue I think it's beautiful as an
I
over
do
top.
too. It's that old school, like, reminds me of like the stage acting. Like,
Yeah.
that's something I think is so beautiful
yeah.
about black and white films.
Well, and Arsenic and Old Lace comes from a stage play.
Yeah.
It was originally a stage play, and many of the actors and actresses were in the stage play from '41 when it originally debuted. So here's the thing, and Chris, you might know this name. Boris Karloff was an old school actor who played Frankenstein.
He did.
And a lot of monsters in the Universal Monster series.
He did.
So every one of the other actors and actresses who had played on the stage show were given the ability to do the movie, except for Boris Karloff. And the reason why is they were worried that he would like get a better deal or he would get pulled away, and the stage show wouldn't be as popular if he was not able to focus or be there for it. And so Boris Karloff, who arguably was one of the good parts of the stage show, he's the only actor who didn't get a chance to put his role on the actual film.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is the character who plays him does a pretty good job of looking like Frankenstein with the makeup and the whatever.
It's still funny.
But they make jokes about, oh, that guy looks like Boris Karloff. And
It's a pretty constant joke.
They do
Interesting.
they do give him credit. Like they do try and like give him references and like give call outs to the guy, because I mean, you look at those guys, you have Boris Karloff, you have all these actors from like the monster movies that were a huge part of Hollywood at that time. And so, yeah, it's a funny kind of, it's out of control at times. The idea is that Monty is coming home, he's getting married, and he's like an outspoken critic of marriage, and he's actually going to get married now. And so he's trying to do it in secret and all this other stuff. And so he's coming home to his aunts to give them the good news and then take his new wife out to the honeymoon, and they're going to go to Niagara Falls and all this cool stuff. Well, unbeknownst to Monty, or Mortimer as he's called,
There's a dead body.
his aunts, his two aunts,
Yep.
have been killing old lonely men with arsenic.
Like 12 of them.
In the elderberry wine. Yeah, 12 of them. So he gets home and he's like, "Oh, aunts, how are you?" "Oh, we're fine." And he opens up, like in old homes, they had those, and we actually had this in one of our houses, where it's like a seat next to the door.
But it opens up for
storage.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
a chair,
Yeah.
like a trunk.
yeah.
kind of deal.
Yeah,
So
that's accurate.
he opens it up, and he sees a body. And
His face is priceless.
He's like, "Oh," and it's just, and so from that moment forward, he's like talking to his aunts. He's like, there's a body. And they're like, "Oh yes, he's ours." He's like,
He's ours.
"You're
What?
sure?" "Yeah,
Yes,
and there's
dear."
11. Yes, dear. And there's 11 others in the basement, and he's like, "What is happening?" And so as the story unfolds and the zaniness that is, I mean, Cary Grant is a brilliant actor.
He
like
is,
he's
yeah,
absolutely hilarious in this role. But he comes to find out that they've been putting up a note for room for rent and only been attracting like old lonely men who don't have any family. And so these women in their twisted mind have
They're
decided,
very sweetly trying to help.
we're trying to help them, dear. We don't want them to be alone anymore. We want them to find their way. And he's just
Yeah.
like, "What? What?"
It all started with an accident. There was an old man who was over for, like, they weren't trying to kill him, but he happened to die. He had a heart attack, and they were just like, "Well, he looks so peaceful. More than in real life, it's so. It's our form of charity, dear." It's about how they sound.
They are the two.
They give funerals to
Yeah,
them all. They
yeah.
say we have to sing the hymns. They have the whole funeral garb they put on.
Good.
It's fantastic. So
And there's an accomplice,
yeah.
nephew, that helps them, who I think he's Theodore Roosevelt.
And so when he goes to dig them, the graves, he's going down to dig the Suez Canal. That's because he's clearly lost it. They're like, "Oh, well, Teddy, you got to go dig the Suez." "Oh, yes, right away, aunties. I'll go and dig the Suez Canal." So he's digging their graves, but he doesn't really know what he's doing because he's digging the Suez Canal. He's
And
digging.
they're like, "Oh, another yellow fever victim."
Yeah. Oh,
It's spreading.
It's spreading. We've got another.
Oh, my.
And so there's this whole so the subterfuge and the layers in this movie are just beautiful because there's so much going on, but it's done in a way that it's not like the movie trusts you to kind of go along and figure it out and make your own connections.
Ooh.
And then it gets better.
It gets even more complicated.
So Mortimer had his brother Jonathan, who was a troubled child, and he
troubled.
either ran away or something happened, and he's been gone for years. Well, he comes back, and he looks like a monster because he's had his face reshaped several times by his confidant, Dr. Einstein, who is not the real Dr. Einstein, that's his name. So his Dr. Einstein is a plastic surgeon, and so the last time that he did his face change for Jonathan, he was a little drunk, and
a little intoxicated was the word.
Yeah, he was like, I was intoxicated. I'm sorry, Jonathan. And so
he also can't operate unless he's intoxicated.
Right.
So it's
Goodness.
like, oh, this is a recipe.
So there's
for
layers.
disaster.
So then Jonathan is like, I'm coming back here. I'm going to have this house and live here. And aunties, you need to go to bed. And Jonathan and Mortimer, you're going to leave. And there's this whole thing because he's been on the run from the police. And what they find out is that Jonathan, in his crimes that he's committed over the years, he's killed 12 people. Well, the aunts they've also killed 12.
And there's a discussion about who has killed more.
Yeah.
So it's just like a contest that starts to happen toward the end.
So it ends well, but it's one of those. It's so zany that you just have to be paying attention. You can't take your eyes off that screen for a moment because everything has purpose and everything has meaning. It's hilarious. It is basically, Mortimer loses his mind and almost gets committed to the funny house himself. Because
It's had a rough night.
Yeah,
the whole world just turned upside down.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. It's worth a watch. It's worth a purchase. Like, it's one of those movies where you just watch and you just laugh.
So here's what Jonathan looks like. And on a funny side notes, there are a couple old movies where I've seen like a leading man or something. I go, that looks a little bit like my dad. Looks like it could be related to my dad. So I'll have to pull up a picture, but this was another one of those cases.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
They did a good
Arsenic
job.
and Old Lace. We'll do a deeper dive with Zoe and Phil and Chris if he comes back next week and he's watched it. We'll have some deeper conversations. But it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. But what that brought us into thinking about is it brought us into thinking about classic movies that we really like and we've really come to enjoy and love. One of them that I think there's no question that this movie is one of the greatest movies of all time, but that's Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is a brilliant film, and what they've talked about is it's as close to a kind of perfect film as possible because there's so much going on, and the camera work and how the movie shows characters, it's a masterclass. Like, I want to sit down and watch that movie and make notes for a future film that I ever eventually do design, or I make a future like a short film that I make, because that movie is used in film classes because it talks about how it frames the shot and it frames the tension, and it's telling you so much in that movie and in that story that there's layers upon layers upon layers of what's being told.
I have heard it's extraordinarily good.
It's Orson Welles at his best.
Dad. See what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
darn close.
Right.
So Citizen Kane is one of the, if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to see it. You need to set yourself down and you need to watch it because there are very few movies in this world that I would say, hey, watch. I mean, there's books that are like, hey, here's 100 movies you need to watch before you die, whatever. And I need to study some of those books. But this Citizen Kane is one of those movies that's just like, you need to watch this.
I don't know if we've watched it together.
I've watched it on my own, and I've really enjoyed it. So we'll have to put it on the list for one of our podcasts for one of these weeks.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's perfection, and it's stood the test of time. All these years, it's never really dropped out of attention, and it is just.
He directed, produced, and starred in.
Yeah, Orson Welles was a
my.
legit legend. He's one of those guys that we just, we had, he was 70 when he died. But he was an incredible force of creativity, and he made and did a lot. He's really good at what he did. They don't make him like they used to.
No, they don't. That's a fact.
With Orson Welles, and so yeah, he's a very creative guy. He had a long history of life and story, and so yeah, there you go. So that's one. Another one that you mentioned. We're not quite into the holiday season. We haven't even gotten to Halloween yet. But you mentioned this, Chris, Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, the old one.
The original.
The original.
Yeah, Maureen
I can see
O'Hara
it.
and John Payne.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Because they tried to redo it with
Oh my goodness.
With Dylan somebody. Hold on, let me look at it real quick.
Yeah, see, we don't even know his name. Sorry.
I
y'all.
actually do like
Sorry,
the new
y'all.
one, but the old one I think is better.
Oh yeah, the old
So
one's very good.
1990. Nope, that's 97.3. Nope, we want the 1994 film. That one was with Richard Attenborough. Now, if you compare these movies, they're pretty much shot for shot remakes.
Yeah.
They are.
What is interesting is like the 1994 movie is a try hard because it's really trying hard to kind of copy that. It does help that it has Mara Wilson, a young Mara Wilson as the kid,
Yep.
and she's adorable.
And a fantastic actress.
Yep, it has Dylan McDermott in it. It has
Yep.
Richard Attenborough. It has some real like legit actors and actresses, but it's not. It doesn't quite have the punch that the original does.
Yeah.
That's right.
The original, I think the reason why the original is just that good is because it's got the right layers of emotion.
Oh man, such heart.
Yeah, it's got
does.
heart, and it's. I mean, it could have gone the route of making it seem like making it over emotional or over whatever saccharine
Yep.
you call it, with over sugary, but it really isn't, and it's just. I mean, Maureen O'Hara is a legit actress. Like you can't, you don't
Yeah.
want to mess around with that.
Right.
But it's still like I still watch it, and I'm just like, this movie has stood the test of time. It's
Yeah.
one of the great holiday movies, and it works. It's a really and it's from 1947, so that movie is old.
Man,
It's been around for a bit.
it's going way back.
Yeah. So Miracle on 34th Street is one. Chris, you mentioned To Kill a Mockingbird. Why is To Kill a Mockingbird the movie on your?
Oh, it's so good. I agree.
Exactly. Yeah, because I've read about 3/4 of the book. I ain't finished it yet, but I will
Yeah.
eventually. And it I don't know. The book is better, I think, but
Right.
They
the
always
movie, yeah, they always are. The movie is very good. I mean, it has the right mix of things.
Gregory Peck.
Yeah.
Gregory Peck is the reason.
I mean,
Yeah. He is Atticus Finch. Like there has
Yeah.
never been a
Yeah.
question
Exactly.
that Gregory Peck got that role.
well, there's a story that he tells on the set when he first came on. He was doing the part, and the author was watching, and she was tearing up, and he was kind of feeling like, oh, I did a good job, and he goes or talked to her. She goes, oh, you have a pot belly just like my daddy did. He goes, oh, that's just good acting.
Yeah.
But see, that's the
thing.
That is with older movies. That's what you get.
Yeah.
The stories are they're just way better. Well, they're more they're written in a way that conveys the idea of the author.
Yeah.
Whereas these new ones are
I don't know. There's
Don't
just
give me-
something. There's something about him. There's a sincerity.
and sincerity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about, so this is going into literature for a second, but there was this is I don't know how long it's been since this happened, but they found a draft of what people thought was a sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird. It was called To Set a Watchman. And what the reality of it is, after all the dust had settled, is that To Set a Watchman was a very, very early draft of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Huh.
And it took time to investigate. It took time to figure it out. But what people were trying, because the character of Atticus Finch To Set a Watchman is not good. It's a very rough character, and people called it a betrayal to the Atticus Finch character that they knew and loved.
Sure.
And so after much research and a whole bunch of other stuff, it was like, no, this was an early draft of To Kill a Mockingbird. This is not a sequel. This came out after like they had run it and produced it and sold it, and it was like on the bestsellers list. It was like, well, actually, no, we've done our research, and nope, just a really, really terrible pre-write that Harper Lee didn't want to,
Have exposed.
have it. She didn't have the confidence in it. It was a
Goodness.
terrible. She won the 1961 Pulitzer Prize for it, actually,
She did.
which is an incredible accomplishment.
Yep.
Yours
Yours is coming, Aaron.
someday.
Yours is
She
coming.
lived until 2016. She lived to be 89.
Yeah. On a
Darn.
somewhat silly note with To Kill a Mockingbird, I have only one issue with this book/movie. You know how they say mockingbirds are harmless? Chris,
Yeah.
it's one southerner to another. Mockingbirds
yeah,
are
they
the
s-
meanest.
They are meaner
They
than a
hiss
snake.
and they'll bob dime you if you
Yeah,
get too
they're-
close to their
They're meaner than
babies.
a snake, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like harmless, my foot.
Yeah. Whatever they say.
No, they're not.
They've never been around them. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm like a Southerner wrote that book. Well, who are you saying mockingbirds are
I
harmless?
know, right?
No.
Maybe she was wanting them to be harmless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mourning doves, yes. Mockingbirds, no.
No, they're not.
Okay.
No, they're mean.
So there you go. Fun fact: they're not innocent.
There it is. So we talked about Breakfast at Tiffany's a little bit earlier on. And Breakfast at Tiffany's is a classic.
Got a poster right?
We have a poster here in the studio of Audrey Hepburn in her classic.
Incredible actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was, and it's interesting. So she also was in. I want to find it really quickly. She was also in Sabrina, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. She was.
And remind me, does Sabrina open with her in the garage trying to like kill herself,
yep.
unlive herself?
Yes.
So we watched that, I think, together and didn't realize what was coming until it was like, oh my God, this is a dark
Got real
opening.
dark.
But it's a really, Sabrina the original is a really good movie.
Well, I'm weird because it took me a while to get into the original. I watched the remake, like my dad was watching it, and I think the remake deserves more credit than it's due. I think there's some really good lines. Harrison Ford is in it.
Yeah.
Actually, the main theme is what I walked down the aisle to at our wedding.
Man, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, Sabrina. So Audrey Hepburn was in Sabrina, but she's obviously in Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I think is it's a classic. It's not the movie's not.
It's very quirky.
Yeah,
as well.
It's quirky. It doesn't shy away from kind of the rough stuff, and it's. Yeah, so it ends happily, but there's a lot of rough. There's some things that happen in this movie. You're just like, oh boy, but it's an interesting film. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites. So, any other black and white movies that you guys think?
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, you got to bring that up. And what they did with Technicolor,
Oh, I'm
incredible.
telling you, it's awesome.
It was incredible for the time too.
Because Wizard of Oz was a 1939 movie.
It was. Yeah.
1939, which is
Judy Garland's debut.
Man, she was good in that. Her voice, she has the most amazing singing voice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious alive.
Yeah.
the worst part for Judy Garland is her story is that she got addicted to stuff, and it was partially or more or less the studio's fault because they did that to her. And so she died at 47 in 1969.
It's sad.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah, she had such a possibility, but the damage had been done to her in her life that it was it was bad. But in the Wizard of Oz, she's an incredible presence.
Oh yes.
And it's one of those classic movies that'll never, I don't think will ever go away.
No. I bought it.
Yeah, it's that good.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like when she's the way she says Toto. I love the way she says
We're not
it.
in Kansas anymore.
No, I just love the way that and I love the way it introduces all the characters, like the Tin Man. And, it's just incredibly well done.
Yeah.
So there's a sequel to The Wizard of Oz.
No.
And I refuse to watch it.
No.
Yeah, no.
No. Why?
We're protesting. You can't make us watch it.
Now, I can tell you that Supernatural, if you've never watched that, they did a part in their, it was like about 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Where they kind of did something
Yeah,
similar
I remember
to
that.
The Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz.
I do remember that.
There is a book series on the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Only reason I knew is because I used to teach 5th grade, and it was on my shelf, and I actually read the book, and there's some things that didn't make the movie. Like there's this land of it's very small, but everything is made out of fine china, so everything's really breakable.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, that was kind of interesting to read.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the sequel in
Don't, Aaron.
Return to Oz. Yeah, the live action
Just say
Return
no.
to Oz.
No, go back.
Yeah, it's
We told you.
It is a dark fantasy released by, get this, Walt Disney Pictures in 1985. And
There
it's
you go.
it's a
Embarrassed.
weird movie. The movie poster
I
just
love
makes
Disney,
you go.
but they have sometimes
They've made some bad
They made
decisions.
some bad decisions. Yes,
Yeah.
they put it better.
Yeah.
that's-
Well, this also comes along and we talk about the Never Ending Story and its sequel, and how the
Sequels
sequels that they
that-
produced were just so, it was almost like a fever dream of like, well, you had this and then you did what with who and
Which
how.
we have
Messed
not
it
watched,
up.
and I hope we never do.
We'll find a way at some point just to put
No.
up with it, just so we can
Let's
say we
not.
did it.
Although I wouldn't, except Jack Black's in one of them. That's the only
Yeah.
only saving grace.
And
about
Jack we talked about this on the previous podcast, but Jack Black actively says he doesn't. Well, he's never watched the movie and he refuses because it's such
He won't.
it's terrible. It was a terrible thing.
it. Poor guy.
So Wizard of Oz is definitely one you should watch.
Yeah.
Don't watch the sequels. Don't do any of that.
I've got two
Yeah.
that I'd like to add. They're both holiday related. One, well, it's not really. One's scary. One's Christmassy.
Yeah.
Scary one first. The Birds.
Oh,
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant film,
Yep.
which I hadn't been familiar with, except it's a short story that I remember reading in high school about. The birds just lose their mind one day and start attacking people,
Yeah.
basically.
It's Alfred Hitchcock.
1963.
It's Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He does good work.
Mm-hmm.
I like his
In
work.
2016, it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the United States Library of Congress, and is now preserved in the National Film Registry.
As it should be.
And it's it's been a while since I watched it, but it's
very gripping.
definitely
I don't know that I've
Hitchcock.
I'm not a horror film fan.
Yeah.
I have a couple of exceptions, and this is one of them.
Yeah,
It's more
Hitchcock.
suspense, I think.
Hitchcock knew how to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
He
Or like the
really
scene where
knew.
like this woman is looking at a playground and these crows slowly start landing on the bucket. So you were laughing, but like these
Yeah.
kids evacuated, the crows go after them. These
Yeah.
are elementary kids.
Oh, darn.
It's real
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, there's Dial M for Murder and Rear Window in his later years. He also had Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which was a television show.
That one I watched a little bit of.
Yeah, so he's had an influence on, like, Vertigo is a movie, which I need to see. Like, some of his movies I need to sit down and watch because he's just that good at what he does. Obviously, Psycho was just like incredible. Did you? Oh, this is gonna make me sad. Do you know that there was a sequel to Psycho? There's a Psycho franchise. Did you know that? I'm looking at. I'm
There's
looking.
probably a reason we don't
Christian
know
Bale?
that.
No, we're not talking that. So here, let's Bates. Good Lord. Okay, we're gonna go through this. I'm gonna go through the various. We're gonna. I didn't know there was a Psycho universe. Psycho 2 was a 1983 psychological movie, and the second film, set 22, it follows Norman Bates after he's released from the. I didn't know that this was a thing. This is me discovering there's a film franchise I had no knowledge about.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Anthony Perkins and a bunch of other people that I don't know their names were in Psycho 2, which, again, it's the 80s brought us a lot of sequels that we really didn't need.
Brought some weird
Accurate.
stuff, yeah.
And Psycho 3, Anthony Perkins comes back from Psycho 2 to Psycho 3, and it apparently it's all kinds of things that are happening. I am in. So here's the fun thing. So the budget for it was $8.4 million. It made $14.4 million. So they broke even by what? What's 14 minus 8 is?
6.
Yeah, they broke even by $6 million, but that probably got eaten up by some other things. So
They're probably in the hole.
yeah, they probably didn't do much on that. Actually, let's see. What did Psycho 2 do? Psycho 2's budget. Okay, so this is what happened. Psycho 2 made $5 million cost $5 million to make, made $34.7 million.
Oh, that's a big difference.
So they were like, oh yeah, Psycho 2 made money. Let's make Psycho 3. Well,
that's a good idea.
then it didn't do as well because the budget and the money was not the greatest. And then the Bates Motel is a 1987 made-for-television supernatural movie starring nobody from the original, and it was a television series. So there you go.
I like the new television series.
You're gonna love this. So there was a Psycho 4 called Psycho 4: The Beginning.
Oh my god!
Which is a made-for-television slasher film. Okay,
The
so this
prequel, isn't
more
it?
CCT, more made-for-television. So we won't get any, like, whatever. It was released in 1990. Anthony Perkins comes back as Norman Bates, though.
Oh my!
He's back. He's back in the role.
He's a little bit older now.
There's a whole like movie thing that I didn't even know about. And unfortunately, this ends with a sad story because Anthony Perkins died in 1992 at the age of 60. So he. Okay, so this is also a sad part of it. He died in September of 1992 from AIDS-related causes. So a lot of our actors in the 80s and 90s, that was a situation because we didn't know a lot about it.
True.
But he was. So my guess is that if he had lived, he probably would have made more psycho movies. He would have been like the lady who does Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis,
Yeah.
who won an Oscar for her work in Everywhere All at Once. So, but there's a lot of genre actors that have made these movies.
By the way, you should watch that movie. It's really, really good.
Which one?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Never heard of that.
Excellent movie.
I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. There's a lot that happens, and it's pretty intense. But it's two of the stars won Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, so I should watch it.
It's got to be good, yeah.
So there we go. So if you're wondering, the tangent we just went off on, apparently the movie franchise Psycho has an entire mythology universe that we didn't even know about. And then there was obviously the TV series. I think it was they called it Bates Motel or whatever.
Bates Motel.
I didn't watch it because I was just like,
man, I'm telling you,
yeah,
it is awesome.
It's awesome, good stuff.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it on my list of maybe.
Right.
The guy that played the good doctor is the one that played.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What's his name?
I remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right. I've got one more.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah,
That's a great
that
one.
was on
Can't
our
leave that out.
that was on our list as well.
That's a great one.
It's a Wonderful Life is one of those movies that I think if you looked at it through the there's a flyer out that's just bouncing around the studio right now and it's annoying us all. If you take the movie on its own, it's a pretty good movie. There's some kind of moments where you're like, okay, all right, you're really starting to hit me in the feels. You're trying to do this. But it's really hard to ignore the message in the movie.
It is.
It's really hard to just to not suspend your disbelief because the question that it ultimately poses is, would the world be any different without you in it? Because that's his struggle as a character is he's like, oh my gosh, everything's going wrong. George Bailey isn't really sure. He gets on the bridge to jump.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of these movies have a really dark, sinister piece to their life.
They do.
The nice thing is obviously he doesn't unlive himself. He survives, but that's thanks to Clarence and his intervention. But because everything's gone wrong in his life, and he's like the money's gone, everything's gone wrong, and so he's like, I don't want to live anymore. And who should show up but the angel who needs to get his wings, Clarence.
My man, Clarence.
Yeah, he's the way I love it in this because he's part comic relief, but he's also like a sage wisdom giver.
He is. Yeah.
We see the world without George Bailey, and it's a dark world.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
It's real bad.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that this movie came out in 1946, so December 20th, 1946. The wide release came in January 7th, 1947. I think a lot of what may have made this movie successful in later years, because you're going to love this. The budget for the movie was $3.18 million. Okay, it made $3.3 million. So on initial release, it didn't make it. It didn't do well. And I think I remember hearing this is that it critically wasn't received well. Like people it's according to 2000 Books, it says here, a spate of movies appeared just after the ending of the Second World War, including It's a Wonderful Life, Stairway to Heaven, perhaps tapping into many people's experience with loss of loved one. It's a Wonderful Life premiered to mixed reviews, while Capra thought the contemporary critical reviews were either universally negative or best dismissive. Time said It's a Wonderful Life is a pretty wonderful movie. It is only one formidable rival. The Best Year of Our Lives was another movie. Director Capra's inventiveness, humor, and affection for the human beings keep it glowing with life and excitement. So, but it didn't make more than 3.3 million. Let's see, it placed 26th in the box office revenues for 1947 out of more than 400 features released, one place ahead of another Christmas movie, Miracle on 34th Street. So the movie was supposed to be released in January 1947, was moved to December 1946 to make it eligible for the Academy Awards, yada, 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 yada. Okay. So it didn't, it recorded a loss of $525,000 because it didn't make enough.
That was a lot back then.
Yeah. So there's kind of it. So it really didn't pick up until much later in life. And it started to get play on television. People started to like get it on DVD, and it enjoyed almost kind of a renaissance. There's not a Christmas that goes by that I don't at least either watch part of it or watch that movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the big part of that question of the movie is the world better off with you in it? And the answer 100% of the time is yes. It's better.
Unequivocally, yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely better with you in it. And it really leans into that question because the world without George Bailey is pretty miserable and dark, and Potter is just a jerk beyond belief, and all kinds of terrible things, and people's lives are messed up because George wasn't there to be a part of that and to bring the light into their lives. And he begins to realize, oh my gosh, I want to be here. I want to be here with these people. And so Clarence brings him back. And it's the moment I think where my throat gets tight is where he runs through town. Oh, hello, savings and loan. Oh, hello. And he's so joyful to be back in his world and back to
to me, it's when all his friends come at the end and they start like giving like money to help him out. And
I understand that one, but for me, there's that moment where he doesn't know if he's really back, and he kind of just starts going, am I back? Am I back? And then he sees everything, and that moment I think is that, oh, I'm alive. Oh, my life I'm back to having meaning in my life again. Oh, I've been saved. I have hope. Oh my gosh, like that, just exuberant, like, hello, old savings and loan. Oh, hello, no. He's so excited to be alive.
He doesn't care if he's going to go to jail. He's just
right. He's just like, I'm back. I'm alive. I'm back in the world where there's warmth, and I know that there's people who love me here. I have hope. And that moment just gets me choked up. I'm just like, oh, George Bailey, you're back. I'm so glad you're back. Like you're with him on that. You're like, yes, George Bailey's back home, and we're going to be good. So apparently Henry Potter, Lionel Barrymore, of all the people in the world, was placed on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains as number 6, while George Bailey was voted number 9 of the heroes list. But yeah,
quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's huge.
Think about it.
Well, and Henry Potter was a miserable human being.
Yeah,
he was mean as mean could be. Yeah, I love this movie so much. We might, like, when the holidays come around, we might need to sit down and do a talk about this movie because it's just.
I agree. It's a great movie.
Oh, it's so good. It's a Wonderful Life is good. What else we got on our list of possibles?
I don't have any more. That's the only ones I've had.
I'll tell you one that you do need to watch, and I don't think me and Vicki have watched it, but it's called The Apartment.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred McMurray.
Ooh.
And it's an American romantic comedy drama, and it's from 1960. And it is equal parts intense, but equal parts touching and hilarious. And I remember, it's been a lot of years since I've seen this movie, but I remember seeing it and the ending and at the end of the movie just going, what have I just watched? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it stars Jack Lemmon, which I am a big Jack Lemmon fan.
He's funny.
Oh, Grumpier Old Men. Grumpy Men. The Odd Couple, The Odd Couple 2. Him and Walter Matthau were legit legends. They were incredible together.
Yeah.
I love watching, and
those are great movies.
I love, because they're both like, but they're great actors.
Yeah.
And so, but Jack Lemmon in this movie, it's a young Jack Lemmon, and it's incredible. So yeah, if you need a movie to spend some time on, The Apartment is absolutely a movie you should check on. So we talked about Miracle on 34th Street. See the original, not the new one. Again, no, we're not saying that we hate
the new one's not that bad.
It's
not the same though.
It doesn't stand up. Like
it's
doesn't.
Missing something.
Yeah, it's missing that heart from the original.
Yeah.
And it's. I said that it was a try hard. I would say that it desperately wanted to be relevant, and it did, but it was also just like there were some elements in there that were a little kind of like, I didn't really like that. It doesn't feel great. So it kind of missed the mark. It wasn't a terrible remake. It just wasn't my favorite.
Well, we've seen worse remakes.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
That's for sure.
Let's see what else I've got on my list. Sabrina, we already talked about. Casablanca. Or Casablanca, depending on how you pronounce that.
Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind.
Oh my gosh, how would we forget that one? Aaron hasn't seen it.
No, I haven't. It's a long one.
Right?
I know.
Ooh,
They're judging me from across the
you
from
I
across
am
the
We're not-
table.
judging
we're
you.
not
You're
judging you.
married
I'm
to a
not-
Southerner. What is? We need to make
I'm
this
not
happen.
judging you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
I haven't seen Citizen Kane, so
we're even on the judgment table.
That's right. Yeah.
We've balanced it out on
That's
the seesaw
right.
of judgment.
Yeah.
I don't want
Casablanca.
people who aren't from the South think
Yeah.
you've gone with the window. You know, think about it, because
Yeah.
it's like there's some very offensive things.
I saw it in high school. That's
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of other ones. Like there's a lot of Sidney Poitier movies.
In the heat of the night.
Oh yes, man. Like his older ones. The one with
Guess who's coming to dinner?
yes. Oh my goodness, Sidney Poitier. Give that man a hand clap.
Yeah. Sidney Poitier is one of the most incredible actors of our time. He
I
is.
read his
Well,
book,
and
too.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner has him, Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn.
Let's go.
Like that on its own, you're like, okay, we got people, we got stuff going
Yeah,
on here.
magic.
That movie, hilariously, if you look at it, $4 million budget, it made $56.7 million.
And that's what happens when you have good actors.
Yeah, and it was the '60s, so we're talking December 12th, 1967.
And Sidney died not too long ago too.
Yeah, I was really sad to see that.
Yeah, I was sad.
I agree. So in the heat of the night, so here's the thing about in the heat of the night.
Man.
Oh, the series.
Well, so there's the movie,
Yeah.
and then there's the series.
My dad loved the series.
So the-
Watched
was
it
good.
all
So the
time.
movie has Sidney Poitier, Rod Steiger, and Rod Steiger's portrayal of the sheriff is interesting. I like it. Like
Yeah.
Sidney, no questions asked. The man's
He murdered it.
yeah he
just did.
he ate he chewed and he ate and he spit it out and he just like there is no question.
Turned into magic.
The movie was nominated for 7 Oscars and it won 5, including Best Picture, Best Actor. The quote "They call me Mr. Tibbs" was listed as number 16th on the American Film Institute 100 Years 100 Movie Quotes. It's a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
However, I would argue the TV series is just as good because of Carol O'Connor's portrayal of the sheriff.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Absolutely.
And I
would.
wish that we had gotten Carol O'Connor in the movie with Sidney Poitier,
Woo,
because
that was-
that pairing would have just been
Man.
insanely incredible.
Man.
I have a deep and abiding love for Carol O'Connor
Yeah.
because he's portrayed some interesting characters. He was in, what was his television show, was All in the Family. And
That's a great show.
that show is interesting because it does take on topics that are challenging.
Yep.
And there's, if we could do an episode on All in the Family, honestly, but the really of the beauty of it is that it didn't shy away from rough conversations. So there was, so eventually, it spinned off into Archie Bunker's Place, and they killed off Gene Stapleton's character, and that was rough, an episode to watch because they really leaned into it, and it was very interesting. In the second season premiere, her character died of a stroke, leading Archie to cope with the loss. That
Oh, my
scene
goodness.
and that, like, I've watched it on YouTube because I obviously didn't watch it when it was on. I was on live, but it's very, yeah. It's I don't know. It's really I don't know. I love it. I love that series, and I wish it got more love than it did.
It's a
But
great
he actually
series.
did in Heat of the Night after after All in the Family. So he was after that. So yeah, and he also he was in Return to Me, which is the David Duchovny Minnie Driver movie, if I'm remembering that correctly. Hold on a second. I got
David, the X-Files dude.
yes, yeah, there we go. I gotta find it here. Hold on, I gotta find.
Lord Scully. Let's go.
Return to Me was his last movie. So he was in Return to Me. David. So Return to Me's there. Here's a dodge for a second. That was Carol Connor's final movie before his death the following year. Return to Me is fun because the story on it. Spoiler alert! It's been like 20 years now. When did this movie come out? 2000. Yeah, 23 years. We've blown past the spoiler alert on this
Oh
one.
yeah, it's long gone.
So what I can't remember, is it him or is it her who gets the heart transplant?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you guys are missing out. Hold on a second. We got to figure this out.
We're
On the
back-
night of her
we're back on
fundraiser,
the list again.
so Bob and Elizabeth, they work in Chicago. Bob is obviously Scully, or sorry, Mulder. Elizabeth is.
Don't mix them up.
Bob promises Elizabeth he'll finish the building. She's killed in a car accident leaving the fundraiser. Her heart is transplanted to artist Grace Biggs, who is Minnie Driver. Okay, we got it. So Minnie Driver gets his wife's heart.
Oh, that's cool.
And so Grace writes a letter to the donor's family after the surgery. It takes her over a year to finally find the courage to mail the letter. Bob works to build the primate house that Elizabeth raised money for. He's still depressed. He recognizes her Zoom. And so there's this like blind date that happens at O'Reilly's, which is a self-styled Italian restaurant, which is where the old guys are. And you need to see this movie, if only for the old guys at O'Reilly's. It's Carol O'Connor. It's all old actors. Hold on, I got to go through this. So there's Carol O'Connor. Who else is in this movie? Hold on, I got to find this real quick for a second. Hold on. So there's, oh my gosh, this is going to take a second. Carol O'Connor, where is his? Carol O'Connor is Marty O'Reilly. And then Robert Loggia, he was also an old school American actor. Bonnie Hunt is in this movie as well.
Oh, interesting.
If you can believe it. David Alan Grier is in this movie.
Oh, man.
James Belushi is in this movie, who's the brother of John Belushi.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch. So it's just, anyway, I love Return to Me. It's a classic romantic comedy. They obviously end up together, of course.
They always do.
But it's done in a way that's just so quirky and so weird and so wonderful. And also knowing that Carol O'Connor, it's his last movie. When you watch the movie and you see his scenes, you're just that amps it up even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, Return to Me. So we got off on that tangent from Carol O'Connor. He made a lot of movies though. Like,
oh yeah,
dude was making TV shows and movies. He was more a television guy. All right, so In the Heat of the Night, watch the movie for Sidney Poitier alone. Dude just eats up the scenery and just kicks it all into high gear.
Good.
And then In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But yeah, then watch the television show because Carol O'Connor, he really runs that role really well. And Howard Rollins Jr. He's Sidney Poitier's counterpart in the TV series, and he does a great job. It's an interesting show. A lot of interesting actors. Anything else we want to throw in there before we close out the show?
The Goonies.
Gosh, that's more of the '80s. We're talking like classic.
It is.
But
the original Disney cartoon movies.
Yeah, the original Dark.
Oh yeah.
Bambi,
Snow White. All those.
Yeah.
I've been doing Fantasia with my kids, and it's been real fun to tell them, like watching like the Rite of Spring with the dinosaurs, and be like, hey guys, it's over 80 years old, and it blows their minds. I'm like, hey guys, computers are around there. They're like, wait, how do they do that? It's all hand drawn.
All of it, every single scene is hand drawn.
Completely blows our minds.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like classic stuff, like classic.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how much the classics are getting pulled back in. Like we're watching more of it. Like the Indiana Jones classic, we're calling those classics.
My fourth graders last year begged me to watch clips of Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
They think it's hilarious.
So
which is great.
Here's the thing about Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry, you have to be mindful of what episodes you select.
True.
There is some problematic elements in Tom and Jerry.
There are,
Thankfully you've probably not run into them in your, but like racist kind of stuff going
screen
on.
Them first.
Yeah, screen them. It's some of it's not good. It's overarching. Like
I'm just confused.
Yeah, there's
anybody else on the internet confused besides me?
But there's
just never heard this.
Well, I think you haven't found they've probably scrubbed those episodes. I'm sure if you search on YouTube for Tom and Jerry problematic episodes or racist episodes, you'll find them. But obviously, don't show them.
Obviously not.
But that's the thing about a lot of classic cartoons is there's some things that are just like like Dumbo. There is some really problematical racist stuff in Dumbo with that stuff. It's just so oh gosh. Well, we kind of glossed over it, but in there is in Breakfast at Tiffany's there is actually I forgot about this actually. So they who's the actor that they did this to or had do this? So Mickey Rooney portrays a Chinese man Mickey Rooney is white.
Oh no.
And so there's some elements in that are just like, oh, the 60s. You were
Yeah, there's a
something
holiday
else.
movie that you should not watch, or you should watch the version without a particular scene in it.
Yeah.
We found that out the hard way.
Well, that's the trouble with a lot of the old school stuff is, so the movie White Christmas, right? The movie that we know and love. It's a beautiful film. Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, amazing. We watch it every Christmas as much as we can.
Yeah.
It's based on an earlier movie with Bing Crosby and another dude who wasn't Danny Kaye. The movie's called Holiday Inn. And it goes through the holidays with music and
dance
like
numbers.
dance numbers.
And it was fine to a point.
I think was it President's Day where this happened? I don't remember. They've cut it out.
Maybe it was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, there's
that's what
something.
it was. Oh.
And the actors, again, 40s, the lens we have to look through, they appear in blackface. And you don't do that. Like that's just you just don't. White people you don't put on blackface. It's racially.
We're white.
Yeah, it's well, and it's also like you're putting on a persona that's not like. There's so many layers of wrong with that you go, okay, well, all right,
The whole
cool.
thing's wrong.
Yeah, the whole thing's wrong. There's no like, oh, well, no, it's not okay in any way, state, or form. But in that movie, it happens, and it's for somehow through either accident or whatever, we got one. We managed to find one of the editions.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon where it's not edited out. And I think in the opening screen, before it actually goes in the movie, it says there is this. Please be warned.
I don't remember.
There is a scene in this. There is this movie. Whatever. And we were just like. And then as we were getting closer, I was like, oh, I think I remember. I was like, oh, Vicki, here we go. I'm really sorry.
Fast forward.
And just and we watched it as out of morbid curiosity of just being like, it can't be as bad as they're saying it is. Oh no, it's as bad as they're saying it is, and worse. And it's
worse,
it's this brilliant moment of, man, we've come a long way because we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And seeing it was so it was so shocking. It was just we visibly, both of us were like, whoa, what are we watching? And I was like, I forgot about this part. Here we go. Let's at least objectively kind of deal with this. And it's just not good.
But you have to see it to see how bad it was.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. So I would not. Yeah. I mean, and the movie itself was harmless. It wasn't really that great. It was a movie about a hotel that they buy to celebrate all the holidays, and that's how they get their money. And but the beauty of it is that they redid they took the elements, because I think White Christmas is in Holiday Inn.
I think so.
White Christmas is a song at Christmas in Holiday Inn. So, and that movie came out a year or two before White Christmas. So what they did is they took the elements from Holiday Inn that were actually palatable and functional and actually okay, and they threw them into White Christmas, and that's what we get now. We've got an amazing, Christmas movie that's got the song White Christmas that was also in Holiday Inn. So yeah, it's just a warning if you're listening. Don't go out and look for it. If you want to just kind of as a historical observation and see what we as Hollywood used to do with things that was inappropriate and uncalled for, feel free to do that. But outside of that, it's not a movie that I can recommend because it's not all that good. It's not like, ooh, it's a great movie except for this. It's like, no, it's not a good movie. It's not really great altogether. I mean, you compare it up against White Christmas. You can't, nothing's going to win against White Christmas.
No.
There's no chance. There's no way and no how it's going to happen. So there you go. We're getting close to Christmas. We should probably start building our Christmas movie lists.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start that process. So if you're out there in the land of the podcasts and you want to send us Christmas movies for us to either review, give our opinion on, please feel free to send them at adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Again, it's adelayedteacher@gmail.com. We would love to hear your suggestions for either Christmas movies that we definitely need to see,
yes,
Christmas movies that we definitely shouldn't see, or Christmas movies that, hey, you should punish yourselves and watch and cry and tear your ritual sackcloths and gnash your teeth.
Throw dirt on your head.
Throw dirt on. Yeah, do all the things to seek equalization of your crimes against whatever. Because there are some really bad holiday movies out there.
There's some horrible ones.
There's some you're like, what were they thinking? Okay.
There was a good one with Mario Lopez, though. Yeah, he does some good ones.
Okay.
See, I actually like all those movies. I do. All of them.
I'm going to quietly judge you from this side of the table. In the
Hey,
go
you
ahead.
don't know what's going on.
Go
I'm
ahead
just
and do
watching.
that. You go ahead
Well,
and do
so
that.
Mario Lopez, he falls into the Hallmark and
Exactly.
and life.
I
Oh,
like
no
those.
wonder you're acting this way.
I like those movies.
They're
actually.
fun to heckle. Come on.
They're fun. I'm not saying they're
Your
very
idea
well
of
written.
fun is very different from mine.
I'm not saying they're very well written.
Okay. That's,
That's not
Yeah,
what
we're
I'm
not
saying.
saying
okay.
that.
At least I
Yeah.
can get that
they're
allowance.
I
really
just
the beauty
like
of
them.
them is how predictable they are.
Yeah. I like watching them with my wife.
Okay.
I'll admit it.
Okay.
I'll admit it.
I'm not gonna.
Clearly, this is not a part of our marriage.
I'm not mad about it. I'm just kind of going, okay, all right, whatever you say, Captain.
Sometimes the writing is bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
bad.
Sometimes.
Okay, 99% of the time. 99% of the
It's
time.
a
it's bad.
sliding scale.
As part of what they do, they want it to be predictable so women can
Yep.
relax. There is actually a science behind this.
I'm sure there is. And people get paid to write these things. They get,
Really good money,
and they,
too.
Yeah, they do. And they
And they're
pull-
usually pretty clean.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
That's the main thing I
That's
like
something I
about it.
appreciate
agree.
about 'em.
I do
Yeah.
agree. All right, so we have our challenge now. Between now and probably just before we leave for Christmas, we'll be heading out on Christmas. We will sit down and we might do it over December. Like every weekend in December, we might just do a countdown through our Christmas movies and kind of
Could do
watch
that.
them.
Yeah, I can do that.
We do we do have to watch Die Hard because Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and so is Die Hard 2.
So is Jurassic World if you're going to go there, though.
Oh,
We were fine until you brought in Jurassic
You
World.
used to like this film.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, and then
The look on Aaron's face is priceless.
you can't.
I did say Hallmark.
Here,
The look you gave me.
couple things here. Okay, let's just be very honest. We have two incredible, almost in my mind, Academy Award-winning, beautiful films in Die Hard and Die Hard
They
2.
were good.
And you attempt. It was a great attempt. You really tried hard, and you
Don't
take Jurassic
patronize me.
World. Oh, no patronization happening. Just being honest. And you take Jurassic World. You want to pay for this microphone?
I'll find a way to get it wet.
Taking Jurassic World, you just can't take it up against Die Hard and Die Hard 2. You just can't. Like that's not a good comparison. Jurassic Park.
I'm not saying they're on
maybe.
the same level, but they both have violence, and that is the connection in my brain.
Yeah, no. Because the thing about Jurassic World is now because it opens with it, right? It opens
Yeah.
with like, oh, it's Christmassy, but it's
Right.
totally a lie. Like there's not. They don't mention it afterwards. Like they
It's
go.
not a lie.
They get to Jurassic World and there's no more Christmas things happening. In Die Hard and Die Hard 2, it's a Christmas theme. Like there's Christmas trees, there's a Christmas party,
Kidnapping
there's
is
snow.
not part of Christmas.
What?
Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
We will
I'm
do.
done with this
We will do.
conversation.
We'll do.
I
our,
don't want to fight. I
we
know
do-
this is a
This isn't a fight. This is a disagreement of Christmas movies.
It's a discussion.
It's a discussion.
A heavy discussion.
Yeah. With,
I don't want to discuss this
with,
anymore.
With pew pew and boom boom. You know, it's great. It's good times.
And I'm like, I don't want to spend my energy on this anymore.
So we will do a deep dive. We'll watch some Die Hard and we'll watch some. I
like Die Hard. It's a
don't know
good
if I want
movie.
to
It
watch
is
Jurassic
good.
World,
I
but
would
yeah,
go with that.
so Die Hard and Die Hard 2 are Christmas movies. So what we'll do is we'll start building our lists and we'll start doing some watches and we'll start putting together some ideas. So you'll have that. If you have suggestions on Christmas movies that we absolutely either should watch or punish ourselves by watching, because everyone needs to suffer once in a while apparently, feel free to email us at adelayedteacher@gmail.com.
Choose your favorite Hallmark movie, everybody.
Oh, I'll choose my
Actually,
top five.
here's what we should do. We should find the one where it features like those two Colorado towns, like Littleton and
Yeah,
like
we should.
Englewood.
That's actually a
Did
good
you?
idea.
Have you ever told you about this?
Uh-uh.
So there's.
It's his favorite thing.
Let me. I'm gonna put us on pause for a second because I'm gonna go find it. Hold on. We'll be right back. It'll be a hot second for you on the podcast. Okay, and back. It took me about 3 minutes to find it. There is it's actually a Hallmark movie. My friend
Yes.
Monica Fugoli, she's a professor at Arapahoe Community College, friend of the show of the A Delayed Teacher podcast. I've interviewed her, and that's a fun interview. You should go back and find that. But it's a movie called Switched for Christmas about identical twin sisters, one living in Denver and the other in Littleton, and they act like everything is so far apart. And Monica says, this was back in 2020, so this is 3 years ago. She said she's just like, guys, it's 2 light rail stops, like, because the storyline is between there's like the sisters like, oh, I live in Littleton, oh, I live in Denver, oh, I gotta go to Denver for Christmas, and it's like you
not that
get on the
far.
light rail and you
The
drive.
20-minute commute.
It's
not
not
that
that bad.
No.
But yeah, it's a Hallmark movie. And so 2 years ago, it was the thing.
Okay, I'm watching it.
Yeah, put it on your. We might actually watch that just for the show, like just to put ourselves through it and just be like, this is how wrong they were about Littleton to Denver and the insanity of this story.
I'm going to enjoy it though.
You
I am going to enjoy it.
okay? Well, you enjoy it.
Maybe.
I might need a. I don't know what
Just
I'm
go
going
in
to
to heckle it.
Yeah.
Just treat
Oh,
it like
there-
Mystery
there's-
Science
need.
Theater, except it's Mystery
We might
Hallmark
actually
Theater.
record that. We might record that for the podcast. Like bring it.
Like
like,
a reaction,
get
yeah.
a TV or like get a video camera or whatever while we do it, because I have. I'm looking forward to this experience. Like I don't even know. Like something I got nothing in my head at this point about this. My brain's been fried by
Like
having
you're
to go.
gonna get a filling done at the dentist.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
There you go.
I'm going to enjoy this like I enjoy nothing. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do Christmas movies countdown. We might actually do, depending on where people are for Thanksgiving, we might do some of that during the Thanksgiving break. Have some recordings
maybe.
we can sit down. So yeah, we'll put a list together. If you have ideas, feel free to email them. Any last thoughts before we call this podcast to an end here on Create at Morgan?
No.
Took a lot to think about that one. Okay, good talk. Anything else on that last
I'm
one?
letting go of the Jurassic World thing.
There we go.
It's in my head, but I am like,
Jurassic Park, Jurassic World is not a Christmas movie.
Yes, it is.
That's the hill that's the hill I'm going to die
Are
on.
you gonna die on that hill, really?
Yeah, that's apparently it's a small hill. I've got
It's a
bigger
very small
I've
hill.
got bigger hills I'll die on.
Seriously.
I'll stumble on this hill. How about that? I'll take a knee on this hill. I'll take a
Okay.
rest.
Okay.
I'll be wounded and then I'll patch myself up and keep going. How's that? I won't actually die on that hill.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty accurate.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I'll get my crutches and I'll walk
You'll
over.
hobble up.
I'll hobble. I'm a hobbit. You're a wizard, Harry. Dobby is a free elf.
Oh, I love Dobby.
Yeah,
He's
there we
my
go.
favorite.
We've mixed in so many different genres in that last 15 seconds.
That was
All right,
awesome.
well, we're gonna stop because if we keep going, it's just gonna get worse. So this has been Nerds by Screenlight, and we hope you've enjoyed listening to this. If you have any feelings, feel free to email us. Okay, my name is Aaron,
I'm Vicki.
And my name is Chris.
and this has been Nerds by Screenlight. We'll see you on the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and the countdown to Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas begins. Until next time, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
The raspberry flapovers will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.